Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Hollanda'nın en iyi üniversitelerinden Tilburg University'de İngilizce akademik program seçeneklerini Victoria, İlayda ve Berk Bey'den dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı questions kısmından sormayı unutmayın. Buyurun Berk Bey, sahne sizin.
Okay, so should I start or Victoria can start maybe?
Well, yeah, maybe I just briefly introduce myself. My name is Victoria, and I'm an international recruiter at Tilburg University. Today Elida is here with me, who's a current student at the university. And we also have Burke, so maybe I will let them introduce themselves, and then we can start.
Okay, I'll introduce myself in Turkish. Herkese merhabalar. Berk benim ismim. ICES Turkey, yurtdışı eğitim danışmanlık firması temsilcisi olarak buradayım. Tilburg Üniversitesi resmi temsilcisi olarak çalışıyoruz tüm lisans ve yüksek lisans programlarına yapacağınız başvurular için. Bu resmi temsilcilik aslında şu anlama geliyor. Biz eğer Tilburg Üniversitesi'ne gitmek istiyorsanız Türkiye'de bir resmi ofis olarak bizimle kontağa geçtiğinizde başvuru işlemleriniz olsun, konaklama bulmanız olsun, vize vesaire gibi o işlemlerinizi halletmek olsun. Aklınıza gelecek tüm detayları ücretsiz olarak size sağlıyor ve bu süreci rahatlıkla atlatmanızı sağlıyoruz. Ve tabii ki bir yandan da akademik kısmı, yani gitmek istediğiniz bir master programına uygun olup olmadığınızı tespit etmek, lisans programları için gereklilikleri vesaire tespit etmek, ödemelerinizi yapmak vesaire gibi bürokratik tüm konularla alakalı da bizden ücretsiz olarak destek alabiliyorsunuz. Chat kısmına birazdan zaten iletişim bilgilerimi yazacağım ve İlayda ile, öğrenci arkadaşımız İlayda ile beraber soracağınız soruları yazılı olarak elimizden geldiğince cevaplamaya çalışacağız. İlayda'ya topu atayım ben, o da kendisinden biraz bahsetsin.
I'll also introduce myself in Turkish first. Merhaba arkadaşlar, ben İlayda. İkinci sınıf psikoloji öğrencisiyim, lisans öğrencisiyim Tilburg Üniversitesi'nde. Ve Tilburg'daki öğrenci hayatı ya da üniversitedeki öğrenci hayatı, Tilburg'da okumak nasıl bir şey hakkında olan bütün sorularınızı sorabilirsiniz.
Okay, so I guess that means it's my turn again. So we can start. I will try to go through the presentation as quickly as possible so we have more time for questions. But yeah, let's just begin and talk about a bit about Tilburg University. But perhaps it's good to start with the Netherlands. So why to study in the Netherlands at all? So perhaps you are also looking into other countries, but the good thing about the Netherlands, and I mean, I'm international as well, so I also was in your position before, and then I realized that the Netherlands has many English stat programs, actually over 2,000, and it's also one of the best countries the EU for business. You will find that there are many multinationals in the Netherlands, also opportunities to do internships and even to work later on. And we will, of course, talk about that later on in the presentation. And also old Dutch research universities are in the top 2% in the entire world. And Tilburg University is also a research university. And for such good rankings and good programs, it is very good value for the money. The fees are quite competitive when you compare them to other countries in the world, and in general the population here is highly educated. You will notice that everyone speaks English. You don't even need to learn Dutch. Of course, that's something nice to do if you want to feel more like part of the country, but you don't need it at all for your studies or for anything. And I guess that Elida can also attest to that. And it's also one of the safest countries in the world. So yeah, I think I can also say it from personal experience that it's a great country to study at and to live in. But in case that you're not so familiar with the educational system in the Netherlands, so perhaps you already set your mind and you know what, I want to study in the Netherlands, and then you're trying to find out which program is better for you, which university, and then you will encounter that you have University of Applied Sciences and research universities. So a research university, which Tilburg University is one of those, offers academic higher education. So this is the most traditional type of education you can think of, and it's also the highest level of education that you can obtain. It tends to be very academic, very focused on research. It's also the way to go in case that you later on want to do a research master or a PhD, then it's with research universities. And then universities of applied sciences, on the other hand, they are more professional, much more practical, more hands-on in terms of the labor market. And there are many times that certain degrees will be offered only at one of the universities, but sometimes you might also have that the same program is taught at both. But you can expect things like nursing school, for example, to be University of Applied Sciences, and then research university to have medicine, for example, engineering, economics, and so on. So yeah, I hope that gives you a bit of an overview of the difference between the two. But then now we can move on to talk about Tilburg University, actually. As I mentioned, it's a research university, and it is located in Tilburg. So Tilburg is the 7th largest city in the Netherlands. And perhaps it's the case for you, at least it was for me, that I never in my life heard about Tilburg before until I decided that I wanted to study here. And then if you look at the triangle that's in the map, that's the Brainport region, where Tilburg, Den Bosch, and Eindhoven are part of it, and that's often known as the Silicon Valley of Europe because it's the location where the most patents are registered, and that's due to the higher research of the research universities in this area, and also all the multinationals, like the headquarters in Europe for Tesla are in Tilburg, or you have Philips in Eindhoven, and so on. And it's also very well located when you want to reach other Dutch or European cities. Tilburg has 200,000 inhabitants approximately, and 28,000 of those are students. So yeah, if you live in Tilburg, you will often see people around your age, and you will see that a lot of the events and the things going on are often done for and by students, which is very nice. I think it's a great city to be a student. And then also something that raises a lot of questions is how the university is handling the current pandemic. And the current semester is entirely taught online, but maybe for that I will give the floor to Elida, and maybe she can share her experience so far with education online, and how you think that the university deals with it.
So obviously online education is a lot different than on-campus education. So you don't really have that feeling of being in a large classroom with a lot of students together, which is a little sad, but there's also plus sides, I think, in my opinion, to online education as well, such as being able to watch some of the lectures on your own time if they are pre-recorded. And something very important that the professors are really, really working with is they try their best to keep the one-on-one student interaction going. So what the professors will actually do is, besides the normal lectures that you will watch or have on Zoom with them, they will give you Q&A sessions, and where you can ask your own questions and maybe get to know your professor even better, so that you still have that one-on-one interaction that you would normally have in between classes or in the breaks in real life lectures. So I would say that the professors are really, really doing their best to try to keep that on-campus education feeling alive by doing extra hours themselves. So I think the university is therefore handling it pretty well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And we're striving that for the next semester there would already be some education on campus. Of course, for that, I just recommend you to constantly check the website, because it is something that we strive for, but of course we cannot guarantee, and it will depend on the decisions that the government makes, and also just the general developments of the pandemic. But then, to talk more about the university, so it was founded in 1927 as a business school, and it has stayed close to its roots because it is a social sciences university. So yeah, it's the 6 schools are within this field that are quite close to business, but we will talk a bit more about the schools and the programs later on in the presentation. And also throughout the presentation and the slides, you will see many green pictures of our green modern campus. So it's that's also quite unique about Tilburg University, that it's an all-together campus that gives you a bit of that movie-like feeling of just walking around on campus and getting to know people from different faculties, from different studies, and so on. And the university has a bit over 19,000 students with over 100 nationalities. So it is very international. You will also get to know people from all over the world. So that's something really, really nice, I would say, about the university. And we have over 10 international bachelor programs and over 40 international master's programs that we will also talk a bit more about later on. And the motto of the university is understanding society, which again I will talk just a bit further in the presentation to let you know what this means. As I mentioned, there are 6 schools at the university, and right now I don't want to spend too much time talking about these schools, because I rather do that with the programs, which I guess is also something that you're more interested in. So yeah, but this is just to give you an overview that, as I mentioned, it's all within the fields of social sciences, and that's what we are known for. As I mentioned before, the university is very international. So there are almost 4,000 international students, and you can see in this chart that's just really a snapshot of all the nationalities that are there. For example, I'm originally from Venezuela, and you don't even see my nationality represented in that chart. So that really gives you an idea that you will meet people from all over the world. And also, our lecturers are quite international. So when I was a student, I had professors from Argentina, from the United States, from also many European countries like Germany, Italy, Spain, of course, also many Dutch professors. But in general, you get that very international vibe, both from your classmates and from your professors. And yeah, around 30% of students in the international programs tend to be international. That can, of course, be even higher depending on the program that you choose. But yeah, very, very international university. And then maybe before I talk more about why Tilburg University, or give you a couple of facts, I could ask Elida why she chose Tilburg University. So maybe you can share your insights there.
Yes, of course. So for me, the biggest reason why I chose Tilburg University was actually 2 factors. One of them was obviously my major. So for me, I wanted to study psychology, and I saw that psychology was very highly ranked at Tilburg University, and that there was an opportunity to specialize early on. So that was the number one reason for me to actually be interested in Tilburg University. What closed the deal for me was actually that the city itself. I think it's very important to not only consider the university and its ranking and how great the professors are, but also consider where you want to spend your next 3 years. So I didn't want to be in a huge bustling city with lots of crowds, and I preferred more to live in a student city more. And I actually had the opportunity to see the campus before I chose to study here, and it was really just wonderful. So green, and there's a forest behind it. So for me, those 2 things were the main reasons to choose Tilburg University.
Yeah, thank you, Elida. And I think that was also the case for me when I chose Tilburg University. And I'm actually more of a big city type of person, but I loved to study at a student city such as Tilburg, because I think the experience is just unique. And as I mentioned earlier, the motto of the university is understanding society, and that goes in line with the strong focus on global issues. So regardless of what you study, whether it is business, economics, psychology, global law, you will always be looking at different case studies that try to answer questions to real life problems within your field. So it is not only theoretical about solving exercises, about memorizing things, but actually about understanding society and contributing to society. Elida already talked a bit about the green campus and the forest behind the university that I find truly amazing, because sometimes between breaks, you can just go for a walk in the forest. And she also talked a bit about the rankings, and I will elaborate on that later on. But we are leader in the fields that we specialize in. And then there are also lots of opportunities for extracurricular activities. So you have many student and study associations, sports associations. So there's something for your interest. You have students associations such as UNICEF, Amnesty International, also Debate Club, many associations that are related to what you are studying. So that organize career events, that organize company visits, also conferences, and also many sports associations in case that you're interested in that. And there's also a lot of counseling and support. So of course, once you move to a new country, new city, and especially university life, you will become quite independent, but that doesn't mean that you will be left completely on your own. So if at one point you're struggling, you, I don't know, are feeling homesick, or you're not so sure about the workload, there are psychologists on campus that can help you out. There are also mentors, also students that are in years above you that are there to help you. And a couple of extra facilities that the university offers are the Career Center, where, yeah, later when I talk more about what you can do after you graduate, I can elaborate on this as well. But the Career Center is there to help you in case that you want to improve your CV, your LinkedIn profile, if you aren't sure about where to start looking for an internship or what you can do after. They are there to guide you. We also have a language center, and every Tilburg University student gets 2 free vouchers to study languages. You can choose Dutch if you're interested in it, or English at an academic level, or when I was a student, I chose to study French. You have German, Spanish, Russian, Arabic. So really like a wide array of languages that you can study for free. And the sports center, where you have the traditional gym, but you also have many live classes, sports courts, and many associations, Olympic pool, horseback riding, ice skating rinks. And honestly speaking, before joining the sports center, I didn't even know so many sports existed. So there will be something for you there as well. Another very nice feature about the university is its partners and the possibility to go on exchange if you choose to. So if you want to go on exchange during your 3rd year, we have partners in every continent. So here it's just a very small list of our prominent exchange partners. For example, I went to Sciences Po in Paris, and that's if you want to continue developing those international skills and just live that international experience in other countries, in other continents. That's also a possibility. So Elida mentioned rankings before, and that's also something that I particularly looked at when choosing the university. And we are in the top 250 worldwide, but then we score quite good in the fields of social sciences. So depending on the ranking that you look at, so according to the World University rankings, we're 28 in law, or 50 in psychology, for example, 37 in business and economics. But if you look at the academic rankings of world universities, then we are number 6 in business administration, or QS World Rankings 28 in economics and econometrics. So yeah, like we are pretty well known for social sciences and the programs that we specialize in. Another hot topic is often housing. So in case there are any questions, maybe we can answer them later on, and then also Elida can share her own experience. But just to let you know that Tilburg University and pretty much no university in the Netherlands owns housing, but we do have a housing office that guides you throughout the whole process, so you will not be left completely on your own. And there are student residences where the university reserves some spots, and that are very popular options among international students, such as Talent Square, to give you an example, where you have your own room and your own bathroom, but you share an apartment with other 4 international first-year students. But yeah, the recommendation is to just start looking several months in advance, and you can also visit our website is in the accommodation section, where you will find an overview of the different student accommodation possibilities, also the options in the private market, and so on. So yeah, in case you have any questions, let us know, and then maybe also later on Elida will share how she found the whole housing experience. Now about the programs. So first, I will talk about our bachelor programs. So they are completely taught in English, and the classrooms are very multicultural, very international. Then we also have very interactive way of teaching. So you have a mix of lectures. Lectures are these traditional classes where most of the talking is done by the professor. Of course, you can ask your questions, but it is mostly just listening to your professor and taking notes. And the classes tend to be a bit bigger, so depending on the program, it can be up to like around 100 students. But then you will also have per subject tutorials, and these are smaller classes from 20 to 30 students, where interaction is pretty much encouraged. You will be working on group assignments, presentations. Professors will ask you to come to the board and solve exercises, or to give your opinion on different topics that you're discussing. So that's also something quite nice, because you get to participate in your classes. And also Tilburg University focuses a lot on skills development, so improving your presentation, writing skills, your analytical skills, to think critically. So this is something that you'll definitely develop in the classes. And something quite unique about Dutch education, and that perhaps you're not familiar with, is the binding study advice. What that means is that in the whole first year, you will need to attain 42 credits out of 60 in order to continue with your studies. So yeah, that means that you cannot fail more than 3 courses in your first year to be able to continue. But I think from personal experience that is very manageable if you put the effort, if you study well. And I don't know, maybe Elida, you can mention how you manage the study advice, because I know that sometimes it can be a bit scary and people can worry, oh, will I be kicked out of university? But I think it's quite manageable. What would you say?
I would also say that it's quite manageable, especially if you just keep up with your lectures and your readings and your assignments. So I think the most important tip I can give is to be very careful in the first semester, because in the first semester you will pass around 6 courses. And that's a lot of ECTS already down. So if you pass all of the classes in your first semester, you can be more relaxed going into your second semester. So keeping it very tight in the beginning, and doing your best to follow everything, all the lectures and your readings, I think it will be completely fine. I personally didn't have any trouble. I didn't fail any courses from the first year. I know some of my friends did fail some, but in my personal circle, I don't even have anybody who didn't make it past the first year. So it is quite manageable as long as you're actually following the lectures and just studying a little bit by little bit.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then don't be overwhelmed by the number of programs. I will not go into detail for any of those. I highly encourage you to check out the website, or also to ask questions if you want to know more about specific programs. But within business and management, we have international business administration, entrepreneurship and business innovation, that focuses a lot on subjects such as accounting, finance, marketing, and management, for example. Then we have economics, that looks more at the big scale, global picture. You have macro and microeconomics, development economics. You discuss things such as inflation, saving rates, and so on. And then we have in our more analytical, data-driven courses, we have cognitive science and artificial intelligence, where you study human and computer interaction. Then we also offer the data science program, which is a joint degree with the Technology University of Eindhoven. And it's all about programming, but also combining it a bit with business and with real life problems. And then you have econometrics and operations research, which is a quite quantitative program. It's very heavy in math, but it looks to use math to answer these real life problems. Then in global law, for example, that's a very unique program at our university and also worldwide, because you don't only focus on a specific legal system, but you actually study legal systems around the world, which can really prepare you to not only become a traditional lawyer, if that's what you want, but to also just become a legal advisor to either governments or companies later on. Then we have the Bachelor in Psychology that Elida is a current student at, and it's very, very unique how it already lets you specialize. You can choose from 9 different tracks, whether you want to go to economic psychology or medical clinical psychology and so on. Then you also have bachelor's like global management of social issues and international sociology, that has to do a lot with politics, international relations, international organizations such as the United Nations. And we have, for example, the university college, where we offer liberal arts and sciences. So in case that you're not very sure what you want to study and you want to get a broader education, you will get a bit of pretty much everything, and then later on you can specialize whether you want to go more towards business, more towards law, and so on. So I know that I'm going very fast and I'm just shooting information at you, but I want to make sure that we have time for questions. So about our masters, they're generally 1 year, but there are also research and extended masters that can go from 1.5 years to 2.5 years. They're also entirely taught in English, and we have more than 40 programs. And within those programs, we offer also many different tracks. So again, I'm not gonna go through all of them because we have many, as you can see. But within business and management, maybe it's important to point out. I know that in Turkey, it's quite popular to perhaps study engineering and then go more for a business or management master's. And then a master's such as international management, for example, it sometimes allows for this, that if you have an engineering background, that you could combine it, or also, for example, supply chain management. So that's something to keep in mind. But then in our more data-driven programs, then the background tends to be a bit more specific. And in general, the reason why we're not so flexible in terms of backgrounds, especially when it comes to economics and econometrics, is because our master programs are 1 year, so they're very specialized and they require that you already have some good knowledge in the field. So here you have, if you want to further specialize in economics and econometrics, for example. Then here we have a bunch of masters in the fields of communication, digital science, sciences, culture, and philosophy. So again, you have business communication and digital media. You will look a lot also at social media and how that shapes society. But then you also have management of cultural diversity, art and media studies, also a couple of philosophy masters, and so on. Then in line public administration, we also have some programs that are very popular. From those, I can point out, for example, law and technology, where you look at how technology affects our daily life and how we can regulate that. So think of self-driven cars and whether we should impose restrictions for that or not, and so on. And then all our LLM programs are more for people who already have a law background, but we also have our master in public governance, public administration, economics, and law. So there you can come from many different backgrounds, such as, as the name says it, economics and law, but also political science, international relations, and apply this to global governance. Then in the fields of social and behavioral sciences, you have many masters within psychology. So if you want to, for example, specialize in economic psychology, health, well-being, and society, also cognitive neuropsychology, then you also have something more in the area of sociology, human resource studies, and if you're interested in international relations, for example. And then moving on to data science and artificial intelligence, then you can either choose, for example, a program in data science and entrepreneurship, which requires a good background in programming and data science, and it's a 2-year master program, or a data science and society master that already accepts people that come from different backgrounds and do not necessarily know much about data science but want to learn about it. So if you studied business and want to learn more about data science, that's a program that you could look into, for example. And then we also have our master in theology that specializes in Christianity and society. So, and then after, you also have a couple of extra options. So you have double degree options, which I recommend you to check the website if that's something that you would be interested in, or to follow 2 masters at the same time. Then you also have the extended master's option, where you can add 6 months to your 1-year master program, and that gives you the possibility to do an internship, for example, with many of the companies that are partners of the university. And this is available for students of the economics and management faculty, and for also social and behavioral sciences. And also something nice to point out is that within the QTEM, we have a network of very international renowned universities. So in case that you do not do an internship but actually want to go on exchange, you can do it at one of our partner universities that are also highly ranking in these fields. So, and this is available for students in the Faculty of Economics and Management. So I know that right now I went very fast and I just gave like a very brief overview of the programs, but I guess that also to let you breathe and to process a bit the information, maybe now we can take a couple of questions before we continue, and we talk a bit more about what you can do after you graduate, and also the application procedure. So maybe we can already answer some questions. I don't know if while I was presenting, if Berg or Elida already.
There were some questions, some specific ones. Actually, I just told Mr. Turgut Arıkan that he should contact us to evaluate the transcript, because the question was whether he can apply to the master's program in psychology, having graduated from psychological consultancy, which is a popular program in Turkey. That I have had some experience about it before, that some of the students can go to UK, British universities, for example, after graduating of this area. But for Tilburg, I have to check your transcript in order to find out whether you have enough credits to go to that master's program. And there were important question about the Turkish entrance examination. It is not required from Tilburg University for you to enter that exam, but in general, in the Netherlands, you have to enter this exam at least to pass the criteria for you to be able to study in Turkey. So maybe we can just reply to now there are more questions are coming. Some of them we replied with Ilayda, so I'm passing them. I think Ilayda also answered some of them. Let's pass them and now answer the new questions, and I'll pass them to you, Victoria. So in general, what are the requirements for the master's programs? In terms of the GPA, some programs require GRE and GMAT. Maybe we should mention the deadline because it's really close.
Yeah.
Give them a general answer.
Yeah, so I will, a bit further in the presentation, talk more specifically about the admission requirements, but it is very hard to just give a general answer to the admission requirement to master programs because they are quite specific depending on the program. But as a general note, so if you want to do a master for within business management, economics, and econometrics, you will be required to have the GMAT more for business and management or the GRE for masters in economics and econometrics, unless you come from a partner university of the faculty, and I will also mention that in a bit. But as a general note, I just advise you to go to the program page of the master that you're interested in, and there it will list all of the specific application requirements. Because for me to just give a general one is very, very difficult because it truly depends on the program that you choose.
I'm going to also mention something about in Turkish because the question was in Turkish. Maybe the candidate would like to understand in Turkish as well.
Yeah.
Genellikle şöyledir aslında. Bazı ortak üniversiteler var sunumda da bahsedilen. Bilkent gibi, işte efendim Koç gibi, Sabancı gibi ve bunlar bazı bölümleri kapsıyor. Oradan mezun arkadaşlar GRE ya da GMAT vermiyorlar ama bunun dışında ekonomi ve business programlarında genelde GRE ya da GMAT sınavı isteniyor yaza kadar. En az 600 puan üstü GMAT vermeniz lazım. Burası çünkü dünyanın en iyi 50 üniversitesinden biri, yani öyle maalesef kolay kabul vermiyorlar. Bir de şöyle bir şey var aslında. IELTS yeterlilik, dil yeterlilik için IELTS veriyorsunuz. Genelde 6,5 istiyorlar yüksekte, lisansta 6 istiyorlar. Ve bunun dışında ders yeterlilikleri, yani özellikle master yapacak öğrencilerin transkriptlerinde almış oldukları derslerin devam edecekleri programa olan uygunluğuna bakılıyor. Özetle böyle bir Türkçe cevap da verelim istedim. Another important question I would like to go to a live answer with you, Victoria, is can we continue our job? Lawyer, for example. So maybe İrem means if she goes to a bachelor's program in Tilburg University and study law program or economics program, can he stay in the Netherlands and work after the graduation? And what is the scope of this opportunity? Because, for example, if she studies law, she can actually work, but she can't be a legal. She can be a consultant, but she can't be a lawyer, in my knowledge. So I think you can give some more details about this after graduation issue.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I can already talk about what you see on the slide. So after you graduate, if you're non-EU, you can actually apply for a 1-year search visa where you're allowed to stay in the country and where you're also allowed to work. So you have that time to really figure out in which field you want to go into and so on. And in the case of law in particular, what you mentioned is correct. So if you study, for example, global law, afterwards you could work as a legal consultant and to work also just within the legal departments of different companies or government. But if you want to become a traditional lawyer, then you should really think of the country where you want to practice law, because often you will have to pass for bar exams and so on. But in general, if you want to go more into legal consulting, legal advice, then that is possible. And a 1-year search visa should be more than enough time to find a job. within the Netherlands that actually, on average, our international graduates manage to have their first job within 3 months after graduation. This is often like after you have graduated from a master's degree. That can, of course, change a bit as well now due to the pandemic, but that's just a bit of a general overview. And at Tilburg University, degree is very highly valued in the Netherlands and in the EU, so it should be fairly doable to find a job within 1 year after graduation.
There is another question about how the job market is after studying a master in psychology, and I would maybe like to answer that.
Yeah, of course.
So for psychology, there's many different masters that you can go to, but I'm assuming you're talking about clinical psychology. And if that is the case, for clinical psychology, in order to become a certified psychologist in the Netherlands, you have to pass a board examination after you study your master's. So you have to get registered in the National Psychological Associations of the Netherlands, which is NIP. And then you have to actually continue a 5-day work and 1-day study cycle for a few years and pass examinations in order to become a certified psychologist. So keep in mind that for this, you would actually need to learn Dutch. So for clinical psychology, it is sadly not possible to continue working there as a certified psychologist if you haven't learned Dutch. So this is the biggest thing to look out for. I personally want to do it. I'm going to learn Dutch to a degree where I can do it, but it is a little bit harder. However, you can always study the master's in the Netherlands and then get certified in Turkey and continue working there as a psychologist. So that's another option as well.
Laila, can you also tell about the other alternatives in psychology, such as work and organizational psychology, neuroscience?
Oh, yeah.
Science? So can you talk about them too?
Of course. So we have a lot of different masters in psychology. So yeah, work and organizational, neuropsychology, and those, for example, in work and organizational, you mostly you can become a consultant for agencies and firms. So there, obviously, you would not need a degree of Dutch to be able to work there. So that is another option for you if you do want to work here without learning Dutch, and if you do want to continue psychology. So there you mostly, it is quite similar to HR, so human relations, but it takes a more psychological perspective and helps firms. And for neuroscience, obviously, it is also a little bit different. But again, if you do want to work at a hospital or at a private clinic in neuroscience and in neuropsychology, then you would also need to learn a certain level of Dutch in order to get certified. So yeah, but also keep in mind that if you do that and work at a clinic or work with other people in Dutch as well, you can also have a broader audience and broader patient scale as well, because there's a huge Turkish community in the Netherlands who actually are looking for people who can give therapy and speak in Turkish, right? So that is also something good to keep in mind. You can work with expats as well. But again, for things like clinical or neuro, you have to learn Dutch in order to start off, basically.
Okay, so I would say that maybe we continue because I want to make sure to have time to go over the application requirements. So yeah, about admission and application, Tilburg University actually recognizes the Turkish diploma. It is one of the few universities in the Netherlands that accepts it. But because we know that there is a big difference in your education depending on the school that you go to, we are quite strict about the GPA, so you need an overall of 80 on your diploma. And if you want to study programs such as economics, international business administration, entrepreneurship and business innovation, cognitive science, and artificial intelligence, you need to also have at least an 80 for your mathematics subject. yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And then for econometrics and operations research, you need 80 for mathematics as well, and to complete the AP calculus exam. And in case that is not available for your school, you can contact us. We know that there are a couple of very exceptional schools in Turkey, such as Roberts College, for example. And then if this is the case for you, sometimes we accept slightly lower scores. But yeah, that's something that you will have to contact the conditionals office about, and we're very familiar with these schools. So there are like 6 to 7 schools in Turkey that perhaps if you have slightly lower, you could be accepted. And also maybe something important to mention is data science does not accept a Turkish diploma because it is a joint degree with Eindhoven, and they do not accept it. So yeah, therefore we cannot either. So yeah, just to keep that in mind. Then of course, if you went to another type of school, so if you obtain the IB diploma, then you can be immediately accepted. Of course, then there's a couple of requirements in terms of the courses that you took, and you need an overall score of 24 or above. And then if you went to an American or Turkish high school diploma, then you can also be admitted if you have 4 relevant advanced placement subjects. So yeah, this is, I'm just going very briefly through it, but in case you have more questions, let me know. Besides this, if you do not come from an American school or an IB school where your entire education was taught in English, then you will need to offer a English language proficiency test, and this can either be the academic IELTS, the TOEFL, or the Cambridge exam. And yeah, depending on the program that you choose, you might need slightly higher grades for it, but you will need to provide us with an English exam. And imagine that in case you graduated with a Turkish diploma, you don't have the minimum grade requirements, but you still really want to study at Tilburg University, there are a couple of extra options. So no need to panic there. That doesn't mean that you cannot access Dutch education. So then one of the options is that you can do 1 year of university in Turkey, and in a similar field, and after that you can join Tilburg University, or you can do 1 year of University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands in a similar field and then join Tilburg University, or you can do a foundation year with private parties. So where you will, yeah, for a year take a lot of English courses, or also courses in economics, business management, mathematics that prepare you for your degree at Tilburg University. And that's in the case of the foundation year, it's only available for the programs that you see on the slide. In terms of the master programs, I already mentioned before that this is I cannot really tell you about the specific diploma requirements that you need because they change depending on the master that you want to study. But as a general note, you should have a similar background, with the exception of perhaps going towards international management or supply chain management, and perhaps having an engineering background. But yeah, for other fields, you should have a related field as a background. Then again, you have to prove your English level with an English exam, and there are additional requirements. So for the business and management programs, you need to take a GMAT, and for economics and econometrics, you're required to take the GRE test. And in case of the research masters, the requirements are higher. It's a very selective program, and there it's really done on a case-by-case basis. So there's not like a general overview there. And then in terms of how to apply, so the first step would be to register for the program of your choice in StudyLink. So StudyLink is the national platform for choosing your program, and you can choose up to 4 programs in the Netherlands, as long as they are not numerous fixes, because if they are numerous fixes, like it's the case with psychology, then it is only 2 programs, but if not 4 programs. And then after that, you will be asked to submit your application with our own application platform, which is Sizleri, but the program will really guide you. You will receive many emails that take you step by step. And as a general note, just always check our website for a complete overview of the admission requirements, of the documents that you need, of the deadlines, and so on. So if you already know the program that you're interested in, you should go to the page of that program, and there you will find all the relevant information. And then in terms of applications, we are pretty much approaching the deadline. So for our bachelor programs is May 1st for most of our bachelors, except for psychology that has already passed through the September 2021 intake. And in case of the master application deadline, if you want to start September 2021, then the deadline is April 1st. And for the February intake is October 1st. And maybe also something good to mention is that if you need to submit your application before those deadlines, but if you don't have your diploma yet, or if you haven't taken the test yet, either like GMAT or English exam, you still have until August 1st to submit those diploma and test results. But your application, you should submit it keeping in mind these deadlines. Then in terms of tuition fee and cost of living, just very quickly gonna go over it because we're already running out of time. But yeah, bachelor programs for international students is around 8,900 euros per year. And then for the master program is 14,700 per year. But yeah, keep in mind that it is only 1 year, so therefore you only have to make that one payment, but the fees vary a bit depending on the program. And then the cost of living will truly depend on your own lifestyle. So most of your expenses will go to rent, and that can vary. Yeah, that can go from 350 euros to up to 700. So it depends on whether you're living in a student residence where you share bathroom and kitchen, or if you live in your own studio. Then here, this is just like a very brief overview of what you could expect monthly for food, drinks, transportation. That, of course, if you live in Tilburg, you will save a lot in transportation because you will realize that the way to commute here is just by bike. So therefore, you will not really have to spend on transportation. And then also that insurance is mandatory in the Netherlands. So there you also have an estimation of the monthly cost. And in terms of unique costs, you have a unique cost for your visa in case that you buy a bike, and a sports car membership that gives you a subscription for an entire year. Then scholarships. Unfortunately, we do not offer scholarships for bachelor programs, but we do offer that for master programs. We have the Orange Tulip Scholarship for master students, but just bear in mind that the deadline for the September 2021 intake already passed. So this is only useful for you if you're planning to start next year. But something that does apply, that perhaps does apply to you, is the partner scholarship. So if you come from a partner university and faculty, you receive a tuition fee waiver of 25%. And here you have an overview. So for example, if you come from Tilburg University, it doesn't matter which faculty you go to, you will benefit from the 25% scholarship, reduction in your fee. But for example, Sabanci only gives you that if you study in the fields of social and behavioral sciences. And also something very good to mention is that if you come from a partner university of the School of Economics and Management, you do not need to take the GMAT or the GRE. And by the way, you can just check our website in case that you want to make sure whether your university is a partner or not. You will find an overview of our partners there. So yeah, just in case you want more information, just check our website. You can also create your own brochure, subscribe to our mailing list, and just keep up with our updates. So I want to thank you. Maybe just take the last minutes that we have to answer some questions that haven't been answered already, and to just wrap up.
Okay, so during the last part of the presentation, you have actually covered some of the questions, and also we tried to answer them in written format. So it's I think it's all covered at the moment. But if there is anything you would like to add, or İlayda would like to add, maybe we can just wrap up right now. But for me, I think it's perfectly done, perfectly made. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great. I really tried to give you an overview. I know that sometimes I was really rushing through the information because I wanted to make sure that you got the full picture. But in case there are things that maybe I was not so clear, or that you still have doubts, I just really recommend you to check our website, either to know whether your university is a partner university. If you want to know more about application and admissions, just check the program page. So I don't know, İlayda, do you maybe have any tips, any recommendation, anything you want to say to future students that we might see at Tilburg University in the future?
I would say that it's important to do your application as soon as you can, so you receive an answer as soon as possible as well. And it's very important to keep an open mind and an open heart when you come here. It really is a beautiful place to study and a wonderful university to study at, in my opinion. So yeah, that would be my tip.
Yeah, and thank you for being here and for sharing your student experience. I think it's always great to hear from an actual student how they find the programs. And also thank you, Berk, for being here and for always answering the questions in the chat. So I don't know if you have like any final remarks before we finish.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks all the students who participated to this webinar. We are always here to help you. Like as an agency, we support students free of charge for all their applications to Tilburg as a partner company. And you can also, I think, text or email İlayda if you have any like student life case questions. I really thank you so much for the opportunity once again. Çok teşekkürler herkese, katılan herkese teşekkür ediyorum.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, Victoria, could you please share an email address on the chat box? So
I was about to do that. Yeah. So I'm gonna share in the chat the email account where you can reach us in case that you have some questions or that I was not able to answer, get to you, or maybe even things that come up later on. There you have the email account where you can contact us. And yeah, just thank you for joining and for your interest in Tilburg University.
Yes, thank you very much for your great presentation, Victoria and İlayda and Berk. I think we have covered all of the questions, and it was a really informative webinar for the attendees. Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Tilburg University ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için Victoria'nın paylaşmış olduğu mail adresinden iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda Berk Bey ile de iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Altıdaki webinarımıza davet etmek isteriz sizleri de. Thank you again, you guys. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
Teşekkürler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.